Meet Sergio Méndez. He's an independent researcher here at Manu Biological Station, with an interest in insects which are known to be vectors of disease.
So my name is Sergio Méndez. I'm a Colombian biologist and microbiologist. I'm 23 and my research is focused on medical entomology and mainly insects that transmit diseases to better develop strategies and understand more of the interaction between humans and insects.
Sergio has worked with a wide variety of insects, but there's one particular group that has his attention at the moment.
So I have worked with different groups of insects so far. All of them have in common that they are known vectors of disease. I have worked in the past with kissing bugs and mosquitoes, and currently I'm working with sandflies. There are over 500 species of sandflies in Latin America, and many of them are known to transmit leishmania, which is a parasite that causes leishmaniasis.
Leishmaniasis is a relatively common disease in tropical parts of the world, but it certainly isn't pleasant.
So leishmaniasis is a zoonotic disease, and what this means is that it's a disease that comes from animals in the wild. So what happens is that there's a parasite called leishmania, which is microscopic and lives inside of the cells of mammals. Sandflies don't naturally carry the parasite all the time, so transmission depends on them biting another mammal with the parasite before biting us. And in the case of this parasite, what it does is that it goes inside cells and it multiplies, and in humans this causes these lesions that start growing over time.
Sergio is particularly interested in the effects of human activity on sandfly distribution.
My project here at Manu Biological Station focuses on diversity and a bit of the ecology of sandflies in this type of forest that surrounds the station. The main question I want to answer with my project is how are the sandflies distributed in different types of vegetation covers that are found, and where at some point under the effect of human disturbance.
Using ultraviolet light traps, Sergio has been sampling sandflies in 5 different kinds of habitat. Healthy forests, characterized by large trees and native plants, riparian forests found near the edge of the river, gardens around the station characterized by ornamental plants, disused agricultural land characterized by leftover fruit trees, and bamboo forest characterized by, well, bamboo.
What I want to do with this type of research is link forest conservation with public health, and this disease is a great example of how it can happen. So what I anticipate is that in better preserved areas of forests, diversity will be higher, and this higher diversity will cause competition between sandfly species, and this competition in turn will cause good vectors of the disease to become less abundant. Instead, if we have a part of the forest in which diversity becomes very low and there's a lot of dominance by few species, it is more likely for these few species to represent a higher risk of transmission.
While leishmaniasis will likely remain a challenge for the foreseeable future, the severity of that challenge is largely dependent on human activity.
So it's a disease that very well reflects the relation between humans and forests, and when humans are abusive and there's a lot of deforestation, it is more likely for sandflies that live in these patches of forest to start looking for new sources of blood. So better preserved areas in which there is plenty of mammals and there are plenty of blood sources for them to pick, it's very unlikely for them to start biting humans, and in that sense transmission is lower. But when humans become the most abundant source of blood, it is natural for them to seek them more and, well, eventually transmit the disease.
Sergio Méndez is a dedicated researcher with a talent for studying the micro world and communicating its implications for the macro. As humans continue to confine biodiversity into smaller and smaller pockets, zoonotic diseases will pose an increasingly greater risk. And it is vital, therefore, that we heed the advice of researchers like Sergio in order to create a more balanced and stable planet for all the creatures that inhabit it. On top of being an outstanding researcher, Sergio is also a highly talented scientific illustrator, with a knack for creating hyper-realistic drawings of the natural world. So if you're an academic looking to put the icing on top of your next paper, or a scientific organisation wanting some beautiful art for your workplace, don't hesitate to reach out and commission your very own Méndez masterpiece.